is your name?
My name is David Smith Jr. You want to introduce myself?
Yeah, just like a little bit. Yeah, just tell us a little about yourself.
My name is David Smith Jr. I was born in Fairbanks, Alaska, raised up here in Arctic Village. I attended school back and forth through Arctic, and I eventually graduated from the Alaska Military Youth Academy when I was 16. And that was the start of my journey. I lived in the city for 2 years after that, back and forth from North Pole to Fairbanks, and decided to move home when I turned 18. Started helping out with the village and the council, and eventually got elected onto the council.
Yeah. Thank you. Just go back and forth with them.
What was military school like?
Just like I would expect the military lifestyle to be. It was run by the National Guard. You wake up at 7, you go to sleep at 10. You wake up and you do PT. It's a military structure that they set it up. Go to school during the day. It was a 5.5 months academy.
Do you think that helped you?
I believe it helped me quite a bit. It taught me a lot of things that normal high school wouldn't teach you. It taught me life coping skills, how to deal with depression, stress, anxiety, how to deal with friends and family dealing with stress and anxiety, depression. It taught me how to do taxes, something high school doesn't show you how to do. They showed us how to do mock interviews for jobs. They showed us how to go out and apply for jobs. They taught us, the basic needs of surviving nowadays. What anything high school wouldn't teach you. Those that wanted to learn how to cook got to do culinary arts. We had opportunities to get into the work field, everywhere from photography to journalism to a mechanic to a cook. And those that went into those fields succeeded, and a lot of the cadets I graduated with, I still talk to today. Everybody that graduated has benefited from that academy one way or another. And so I do believe the academy helped me helped me get to where I am today.
What you learned there, did you bring here to help the village?
I believe so. I still live with the same set of codes and conduct that they taught me. Respect for who you meet. One thing that they taught us is to respect everybody that you meet. You never know if the guy next to you is going to have to save your life one way or another. They taught you to I don't know, just like everyday things you wouldn't necessarily learn unless you experienced it firsthand.
You said you were raised in Arctic Village. What was it like growing up here?
It was a little different than city life. I got to experience city life at a young age. I wasn't too fond of it. Growing up here, it's a lot different than...
Hey!
Dogs out of here!
Get out of there!
Go!
You guys could probably cut that out, though, right?
Yeah.
Just tie him up! Get out of here!
On behalf of growing up here, as I said in the other interview, it's a lot different than growing up in the city. Instead of learning where the grocery store is or learning where the school is, or even the buildings you have to go to, instead of learning the city and learning the area, we learn the areas we hunt, and instead of finding a grocery store, we know our hunting areas. And as I explained earlier, if you go down to the store, you can go and buy a steak for $30. But what does a $30 steak do when you got 7 to 11 people in your family? And instead of buying one steak for $30, I can get a box of shells, go harvest a couple animals, and feed more than just my family. I see it as growing up in a rural place like this. You know, you grow up with a different aspect on life. Growing up in a city, you're taught, go to school and then go on to college or find a trade and do something you like to do. Up here, we're kind of raised it's the same way, make sure you finish school. Everybody's pressing you to go on to college and pursue something greater to get out of the village. But at the same time, we're raised in this lifestyle that is like no other place in the world. Aside that, going from living in a place like this, growing up, when I first went to Fairbanks and tried to go to school, I think I was in 6th grade, and it was a completely different change. Going from a school that has 30 students in the entire school to a middle school, high school that has 300 to 400 students, and it's not for everyone. Living up here is not for everybody. There's people that grew up here but take their kids to Fairbanks for better schooling or for other reasons. But growing up here, I kind of found that sense of belonging, especially when I was young. It was never the same when I went to town. In the city life, I can just tell I don't belong, and when I'm out here, I feel a sense of belonging, I would say. And I know that if I grew up in a city, I don't think I would feel that same connection with the land that I do from growing up here. And I got to experience city life, and I wouldn't be who I am today if I didn't grow up here and do what I did when I was growing up. Just like the fishing areas that we're talking about, it's something I've gone and done. I'm 22, and it's something I've done for 16 years, since I was old enough to walk down to the creek and start fishing, or even to this lake behind Sarah's. We used to fish when we were young. Ever since a young age, we were taught, self-reliance, to be able to go out and trap ground squirrel. If we're not old enough to shoot a rifle, we can still set traps and survive off that method, or go down to the creek and start fishing. And even at a young age, we took care of the elders. If you get fish, the elders love it. If you get ground squirrel, that's a delicacy, And so, even at a young age, we did our part and helped out.
As you have been living here, have you noticed any changes with regarding the Arctic and the land around you and that kind of stuff?
Not necessarily growing up. It's not an everyday thing you see, it's over time. And at a young age, I don't believe I was able to comprehend, the reason people gathered and why they gathered and how important it was. And they would explain to us at a young age how important the caribou were, how important this area is, and so forth. But you never really get to understand it until you're standing in front of BLM, Bureau of Land Management, until you're standing in front of them testifying, them trying to drill into the 1002 area and basically stick their finger where it doesn't belong in the last 5% of untouched land. It's one of the last places where it's not colonized. You can go out there and you wouldn't see another person for hundreds of miles. And if you go throughout downstate, anywhere in the lower 48, as we say up here, you can't find that. You try to walk into the forest and you're going to run into private land. You run into somebody's property. And it's not like that up here. The National Wildlife Refuge, as you guys floated down, it's free. I don't know. After seeing you guys come down, I want to go up and float down as well. And I'm thinking about doing another trip from here down to Vinitai and float down, just to go down and say hello. You don't got to pay a $185 ticket to go to Fairbanks. You can take the river. As I was explaining earlier, our people used to walk everywhere, and they would take dog teams, and that's how we got around. They would go upriver a ways, and they would harvest moose. They would need 2 moose, and they would make a skin boat, and they'll float all that stuff back down, all the meat and what they had back down the river. And with modern technology, things change, but the stories and the way we do things stay the same.
Next question was, what do you think the future of the Arctic and your guys' like land and like lifestyle looks like? Do you have any opinions on how that might change or look in the future? Like, let's say like 10 to 15 years from now, how do you think it's gonna look up here?
A lot more trees, but other than that, as long as we keep pressing on the way we do and defending the caribou herd as we have, I don't think that they'll ever get into the 1002 area. I believe that they're not going to end up drilling, and even if they do, I don't think they're going to find what they're looking for. Between now and 10 to 15 years, it's kind of hard to say. A lot of things can happen in 15 years. But what I hope to see is a striving community, along with more people coming together. You guys see a lot of people that are friendly and say hello, but it's beyond that. I want everybody to be happy, but to find that happiness, they need to find that sense of belonging. Go back into the land. And what I was told from the past is there was no depression, there was no suicide. Everybody was like one big family, and if you had a problem, they talked about it. There was talking circles, there was places you can go to find peace, and hopefully I see the community to grow, as anywhere should. Hopefully we can get more of a grasp on our land use areas and try to keep like outsiders that don't know anything about us to inform them, and not to keep them out. We're not trying to keep everybody out. Anybody's free to go on the refuge, but it would be nice if they can come and talk with the elders like you guys have and get some knowledge on the land and our perspective, And anybody can go up and know the area, learn the area, but learning the history and learning the cultural aspect of those areas is also important. There's certain areas they would go to, and there's certain areas that they wouldn't go to. Every place, every hill, every lake has a name for a specific reason. Every mountain has a name for a specific reason. And then all the animals, every piece of the animal also has a name and used for a specific reason. But I hope to educate the community, the best I can. In the next 15 years, hopefully, we have a lot more of the youth to step up and continue what I'm doing. What I look forward to is seeing the younger youth growing up and doing what I do, giving back to their community the best they can. Not everybody does the same thing, and not everybody gives back the same way, but it all helps little by little.
So you were just saying you want the youth to grow up and do what you do. So you are the second chief?
Second chief.
Correct. All right, yeah. How is a leadership role like that? How have you, or like, can you describe what that's like for everyone, or for you anyways? Yeah.
It's not easy. One thing I can say is politics is not easy, and I'll start with that. But when I came back, I never pictured being in this position. I never thought that I would be in this kind of leadership, and I helped out where I could and did what I can to give back, and hunted for those that can't hunt for themselves, and I guess showing that I'm going to stick around the village and I want to help out. They wanted me to be elected to council to help with the village. And not only on that, it's just before now, council is kind of left to the elderly people, the people that know that know the past, know what happened in the past, that can comprehend our laws and our codes and bylaws.
Yeah.
But also on that fact,
Yeah.
you know, someone in their 40s, 50s may
Yeah.
not be able to get along or even communicate
Yeah.
with someone my age or even younger. And so, me being on council, I feel as if I help, not like translate, but communicate with the council and the youth. I do a lot of stuff for the youth. I'll be working at the youth center off and on, and taking them on hikes. The youth corps is with us today on that walk, and I kind of want to show, you know, you don't gotta be an elderly person to get on the council. You know, sometimes it takes a young mind with new ideas to find a new solution. In this modern day world, we're fighting people, well, not fighting, but, you know, we are fighting people that have college degrees, that went to school, and know how to twist words. And some of our elders may not comprehend that. But people my age that go through college, you know, later on than me, may be able to help with that. And that's one thing that we press, is try to get people to go out and pursue higher education, you know, and then come back and try to help the village. I was elected on council, and I was put in as first council, kind of. There's first chief, second chief, we have 5 council and 2 alternates. And I was set as the first council, and that's kind of, I know everybody kind of went to me at the time to talk to, and well, they still do, but to come and try to get, you know, new ideas, a broader perspective on making the village a better place. You know, everybody has good ideas, everybody has a different mindset though, and it was a little difficult to catch on to politics, you know, learning our codes, laws, even things I didn't know there was rules for. Here on the land, there are rules about subsistence, lifestyle, you know, how you harvest, when you harvest. And later on, we had a chief step down, and the chain of command got bumped up. Second chief became first, first council became second chief. And I did that for a year until the new elections. And that was a whole nother, kind of got pushed into that, you know, chain of command got bumped up, and I was just getting the hang of becoming a council member, and then I got handed the title chief, which was a big step, I would say. I'm one of the youngest chiefs that we've had. We had a first chief a while back in like 2001. He was 24, and up until now, I'm the youngest. And then we have a first chief in Vinitai that's a year older than me, and also one of the younger chiefs. And yeah, my aspect on the village, everything changed once I got into a new position. My eyes were opened on a whole nother view on everything, you know. I got to learn the history of when the village started. I got to read back on old meetings of people that I never met, and how they did things and what changes they made and why they made them. And yeah, it was a lot to take in at the time, and it took the first year to kind of get the grasp of it. And then new elections came, and a new council was elected, and I got elected back to second chief. And with a new council, there's new ideas and new minds, you know, and it took a while to get everything back on track, everybody on the same road. But eventually it worked out. We tried starting the youth council to try to get more ideas from them, but I don't think anyone is really wanting to do that. They see the council, and it's a lot of work. You know, it's not going to be like that with the youth council, but it would still be, you know, attending meetings and stuff. I talk to them when I can. We go down to the school as a council